In this session, we will discuss the structure of RNA. So, in most cellular RNA, they are single-stranded, but some viruses there occur double-stranded RNA. There are double-stranded RNA viruses. So, but in all the other cases, RNA is single-stranded molecule. The single RNA strand, they are folded upon itself. So either they will fold entirely upon themselves or they will fold in certain regions. So in the folded region, obviously the bases will be complementary. Majority of the bases will be complementary and they are joined by hydrogen bonds. So they help in the stability of the molecule. In the unfolded regions, the bases will not be complements. So the RNA does not because of this, the RNA will not have purine pyrimidine equality as in the case of DNA. We all know RNA is having ribose has the sugar instead of the deoxyribose, and there is also a difference in the nitrogenous bases found in RNA. It is adenine, guanine, cytosine and uracil. So instead of thymine in the case of DNA, here we have uracil. So in the purine pyrimidine base pairing, where that base pairing will occur, the adenine pairs with uracil and the guanine will pair with cytosine. Apart from these four bases, RNA is also having some unusual bases that we'll discuss later. Now, there is an important structural feature of RNA. It is having hydroxyl group at the 2' position of the ribose sugar, that is at the C2 carbon they are having a hydroxyl group. So this presence of this functional group it will cause the helix to adopt a form, that is the A form of the DNA. So this will result in deep and narrow major groove and a shallow and a wider minor groove. Since they are having this 2' hydroxyl group, in the conformationally flexible regions of RNA, that is the bases that is not involved in the folding, in that regions they can chemically attack the adjacent phosphodiester bond and they can cleave the backbone. So they are very reactive molecules. So in the case of RNA structure, it is single stranded, but some viruses are having double stranded RNA as their genomes, and this RNA is folded upon itself at the in the regions of complementarity, and this gives stability to that molecule. The unfolded region will not have any complement base pairing. Due to that reason, there is no equality between the purine and pyrimidine base as found in DNA, and RNA is having ribose has the sugar molecule and the nitrogenous base pair instead of thymine, uracil is present. So adenosine will bind with uracil, and apart from that, unusual bases are also seen. And the most important structural feature of RNA is that at the 2' position they are having hydroxyl group that make the RNA very reactive. So it will also help in forming or adopting the A form. So due to that, they will be having very deep and narrow major groove and a shallow and a wider minor groove, and this 2' OH group present in the RNA molecule, they can attack the adjacent phosphodiester bond and cleave the backbone. Not only RNA single stranded structure, they can also have secondary structures such as stem loop and hairpin. RNA has no simple regular secondary structure. They can have different kinds of secondary structures. The three-dimensional structures of RNA, they are very complex and unique as in the case of DNA. The interactions that stabilize the RNA structure has same as that in the DNA, that is weak interactions, especially the base stacking interactions. So we already told that RNA can form the A form helix, the A form helix of the DNA. They can form A form by folding upon themselves. Okay, so some regions there will be mismatched or unmatched bases. They will not be complementary and they cannot bind. So and in that region there will be a bulge, or they can form internal loops. The hairpin loops, they are mainly found between self-complementary sequences. Here you can see the formation of hairpin and loop and the bulge. So in the case of bulge, maybe a single base pair is mismatched. If there are more base pairs mismatching, an internal loop will form. If there is complementarity base pairing along the strand, but there is a mismatch pairing for some bases, then they can form a hairpin. So these are the different secondary structures in the RNA. But most common structure is the hairpin. So there are different base pairing and different kind of secondary structures can arise, but hairpins are the most common type of secondary structures. Some specific short base sequence such as UUCG, they are found at the ends of this RNA hairpins, and they are known to form particularly tight and stable loops. So such sequences can act as a starting point for the folding of the RNA molecule into its three-dimensional structure. We all know there are different types of RNA. So there are three types of cellular RNA: messenger RNA, ribosomal RNA, and transfer RNA or soluble RNA, mRNA, rRNA, and tRNA. Ribosomal and transfer RNA, they are present in majority, that is 98% of all the RNA are rRNA and tRNA. So all these three forms of RNA are made from DNA template. The tRNA and mRNA are synthesized on the DNA templates of the chromosome, while rRNA is derived from nucleolar DNA. The three types of RNA, they are synthesized during different stages in the development of the cell. During cleavage, most of the RNA synthesized will be mRNA. Synthesis of tRNA, they will occur at the end of the cleavage, and rRNA synthesis begins during gastrulation. The first one will discuss the ribosomal RNA or rRNA. So, as the name suggests, the ribosomal RNA is found in the ribosomes. They are the majority of the RNA, that is about 80% of the total RNA of the cell is rRNA. The base sequence of rRNA will be complementary to that region of the DNA where it is synthesized. The eukaryotes, ribosomes are formed in the nucleolus. So the ribosomal RNA is formed from only a small section of the DNA molecule. So there is no definite base pair relationship between rRNA and DNA. So the rRNA exists as a single strand that is twisted upon itself in some regions, that is the complementarity region. They will be forming bonds and they will twist upon themselves. So due to that reason, they are having helical regions, but they are connected by intervening single stranded regions. So the helical region can show presence or absence of positive interactions. In the helical region, most of the bases will be complementary and they are joined by hydrogen bonds. In the unfolded single stranded region, there will be no complements. The rRNA contains four major RNA bases, that is adenine, guanine, cytosine, and uracil. But there will be some methylation occurring in the bases. rRNA behaves as a random coil in the low ionic strength. As the ionic strength increases, the molecule shows a helical structure, that is, helical regions will be produced by base pairing between adenine and uracil and guanine and cytosine. So the rRNA is present in the ribosome, and ribosome consists of protein and RNA. So the prokaryotes and eukaryotes have difference in ribosomes. In the case of prokaryotes, they are having 70s ribosomes, and it has 30s subunit, small subunit, and 50s large subunit. In the small subunit, we are having 16s rRNA, and in the large subunit, 23s rRNA and 5s rRNA are present. In the case of eukaryotes, it is 80s ribosome unit, that is 40s will be the small subunit, and large subunit is 60s. In the vertebrates, the 40s subunit contains 18s rRNA, while the 60s subunit contains 28 to 29s rRNA, 5-point-S rRNA, and 5s rRNA. In plants and invertebrates, the 40s subunit contains 16 to 18 S rRNA, and the 60s subunit contains 25s rRNA and 5.8s rRNA and 5s rRNA. On the basis of sedimentation and molecular weight, we can divide the rRNA into three. So two of these classes are high molecular weight rRNA, and the third one is the low molecular weight rRNA. The three classes are high molecular weight rRNA with molecular weight over a million. For example, 21s to 29s rRNA come under the high molecular weight rRNA. The second class is the high molecular weight rRNA with molecular weight below a million. So the example is 12, 8 and 188 rRNA. And the third class is low molecular weight rRNA. The example is 58s rRNA. The next group is messenger RNA. So their function is to carry the information from protein synthesis from the DNA to the sites of protein formation, that is ribosomes. So we all know the central dogma: from the DNA through transcription mRNA is made, and from the mRNA through translation proteins are made. So this mRNA, they act as a messenger, and they carry the information from DNA and they make functional proteins. So that is why Jacob and Monod in 1961, they are the person who named this mRNA as messenger RNA. So it is very less of the total RNA found in cells, that is, they only present up to 3 to 5% of the total cellular RNA. And the cells, they do not contain large quantities of mRNA because mRNA will constantly undergo breakdown, that is, they are constantly broken down by ribonucleases. An average sized mRNA molecule will have the molecular weight of 50,000 Dalton, and its sedimentation coefficient is 80s. But they can vary very greatly in their length and molecular weight. mRNA is always single stranded. Okay, so although some coiling can be seen in extracted mRNA, but there is no base pairing. So actually, if there is base pairing, their biological activity will be destroyed. So they are always single stranded. So the mRNAs, they are transcribed on DNA. So their base sequence is complementary to that segment of DNA from which it was transcribed. So usually each gene will transcribe their own mRNA. So we can say approximately how many types of mRNA is present, that many genes are present. So there can be 1,000 to 10,000 different species of mRNA in cell. So these mRNA types, they will only differ in their sequence, that is the arrangement of their bases and also their length. In the case of eukaryotes, the mRNA is monocistronic, and in the case of prokaryotes, it is polycistronic. Monocistronic means the transcribed mRNA will only code for one protein. Polycistronic means it will code for more than one protein. In the case of eukaryotic mRNA, there are certain structural features. The 5' end of the mRNA will be having a cap. So the cap is actually 7-methyl guanosine, and it is attached to the 5' end of the mRNA through an unusual 5' triphosphate linkage. So if this cap is not there, it will not bind to the ribosome. Okay, so that they help in binding of the mRNA to the ribosome. Apart from the cap, we are having non-coding regions of 10 to 100 nucleotides. This region will be rich in adenosine and uracil residues, and this non-coding region will not code for proteins. They will not translate proteins. The initiation codon will be AUG in both prokaryotes and eukaryotes. The coding region, they will consist of about 1500 nucleotides on the average, and they translate into protein. In the 3' end, a poly A tail is found. So this poly A tail will give stability to the mRNA. The precursor mRNA in the eukaryotes will have both the coding and the non-coding regions. Once they are processed, they will only have the coding regions. In the case of prokaryotic mRNA, towards the 5' end, there is a sequence called Shine-Dalgarno sequence. These sequence help in the attachment of the mRNA to the ribosome, and they are very rich in purine bases. Here the difference between monocistronic and polycistronic mRNA is shown. The next type of RNA is transfer RNA or tRNA. So they are the second most common RNA in the cell. So their nucleotide sequence was first worked out by Holy in 1965. It was from yeast alanine tRNA. So what is the function of tRNA? tRNA, they serve as the adapter molecule that will bind to the specific codon, and it will bring the amino acid and they will incorporate it into the polypeptide chain. So each amino acid is having specific tRNA, and this tRNA will help in bringing the amino acid to the ribosome unit and binding it to the polypeptide chain. So each tRNA is a single chain, and they contain about 73 to 93 ribonucleotides. They are L-shaped molecules, and they contain many unusual bases, typically between 7 and 15 per molecule. They are having unusual bases. So some of these bases are methylated, some are dimethylated derivatives of adenine, uracil, cytosine or guanine residues, and they are formed by enzymatic modification of the precursor tRNA. Some methylation actually prevent the formation of certain base pairs, so they will protect the biological activity of the tRNA. Due to some methylation, what happens is that some bases, they will become accessible for interaction with other bases, and methylation will also impart a hydrophobic character to this tRNA. So It is very important for their interaction with synthetases and ribosomal protein. And other modification also alter the codon recognition. So in the case of tRNA, many unusual bases are found, and these are actually helping them in their biological activity. Mainly methylation is found, and this methylation will help bases for being accessible for interaction with other bases, and they also impart hydrophobic character to the tRNA. About half of the nucleotides in tRNA are base paired and they form double helixes. So the 4 helical regions, they are arranged to form 2 apparently continuous segments of the double helix. So it is actually resembling the A form of the DNA, and in one helix they are containing the 5' and 3' end, and they run horizontally. Okay, and the other helix, they contain the anticodon and they run vertically. So that is how they form the L shape. One is horizontal and one is vertical. But there are some bases that are not base paired in this way. So there are actually 5 groups of bases that are not base paired in this way. They are the 3' CCA terminal region. They are called the acceptor stem. T-side C loop, they are acquired their name from the sequence ribothiamine pseudouracil cytosine. They are the extra arm and they contain a variable number of residues, and there is the DHU loop. They contain several dihydrouracil residues, and the anticodon loop. So there are these 5 regions. They do not base pair in the aDNA form. One is the acceptor stem, the other is the T-side C loop, then there is the variable arm or the extra arm, DHU loop, and the anticodon loop. So most of the bases in the non-helical region, they also participate in hydrogen bonding interactions, but these interactions will not be like those in the Watson-Crick base pairs. So due to this structural diversity that is generated by the combination of helices and loops containing the modified bases, it will ensure that the tRNA can be uniquely distinguished, because they are structurally overall similar, but due to these reasons or these unusual modified bases and their combination of helices and loops, they helps to distinguish the tRNAs. The 5' end of the tRNA is phosphorylated. An activated amino acid is attached to the hydroxyl group of the adenosine residue in the amino acid attachment site, that is the 3' end. Okay, there is the 3' CCA component of the acceptor stem. So the activated amino acid will attach to the hydroxyl group of the adenosine in that 3' end. This single stranded region can change conformation in the course of amino acid activation and protein synthesis. The anticodon loop, that is the loop that is present near the center of the sequence, is at the other end of the L, and they make accessible the 3 bases that constitute the anticodon. They actually pair with the codon, the 3 nucleotide bases in the mRNA. So here you can see the cloverleaf model of tRNA and the L shape of the tRNA. tRNA usually exists in the L shape in the cells, but the cloverleaf will give a clear picture of the structure. So here you can see the CCA terminal, that is the amino acid attachment site. It is to this OH group the activated amino acid will attach, and the 5' group, it is phosphorylated. Here is the T5C loop. T5C loop. Here is the DHU loop, and the extra arm or the variable arm. This is the anticodon loop, and this is the area where the tRNA will attach to the mRNA. Now we will discuss the function of nucleotides. We already discussed the function of nucleic acid while describing their function, their structure. DNA, we know it is the carrier of the genetic information. From DNA through transcription, mRNA is made, and from mRNA proteins are made. So they are the carrier of genetic information. And we also saw the function of different types of RNAs, that is the rRNA, tRNA, and the mRNA. Now we'll just summarize the function of nucleotides. So nucleotides and their derivatives, they are biologically ubiquitous substances, and they participate in nearly all chemical processes. As we saw, they are the monomeric units of nucleic acid, and they play a central role in the storage and the expression of genetic information. Apart from that, nucleoside triphosphate, that is ATP, they are energy rich end products of the majority of energy releasing pathways and the substances whose utilization drives most energy requiring processes. ATP is the energy currency of the cell. And most the metabolic pathways are regulated by the levels of nucleotides present, such as the ATP and ADP. Moreover, certain nucleotides, they function as intracellular signals that regulate the activity of numerous metabolic processes. Nucleotide derivatives such as nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, flavin adenine dinucleotide, coenzyme A, they are all required in many enzymatic reactions. As components of the RNA, they are also rRNA, they are also known as ribozymes, and nucleotides have important catalytic activity. In the case of rRNA, they are catalytic. They also have a critical role in cell signaling, that is we know that cells, they respond to the environment by taking cues from hormones or other external chemical signals. So their interaction with these extracellular chemical, they are called as the first messengers. With the receptors on the cell surface, they will lead to the production of second messengers, and these second messengers, they actually will bring about the response. So these second messengers are often nucleotides. Most common is the CAMP, that is cyclic AMP. They are formed from ATP in a reaction catalyzed by adenylyl cyclase. This CAMP is they serve as regulatory functions in every cell outside the plant kingdom. And the other one is guanosine 3,5 cyclic monophosphate, cGMP. They also occur in many cells and also has many regulatory functions. There is another regulatory nucleotide, that is PPGPP, that is produced in bacteria in response to slowdown in protein synthesis during amino acid starvation. This nucleotide actually inhibits the synthesis of rRNA and tRNA molecules that are needed for protein synthesis, preventing unnecessary production of nucleic acid. These are the references. Thank you.